Hey, you ever look up at the sky and think, wait, are those clouds actually stealing water from the sky? Like, are they like sky bandits? Well, here's the thing. Clouds aren't actually stealing water. They're more like the sky's version of a sponge. They're just soaking up moisture from the air. Imagine the air is like a really humid gym. Everywhere there's moisture, and the clouds are just the cool guys who grab it and hold on tight. So, if you're ever in a desert and see a cloud, don't blame it for the dryness. It's just trying to save water for a rainstorm later. But hey, if clouds were real thieves, they'd be the most organized crime syndicate in the sky. And I'm not even joking. Okay, so we're talking about clouds stealing water from the sky. Wait, the sky doesn't have water, it's just air. But the sky is full of water vapor, like invisible water ghosts floating around. So we're not talking about clouds taking water from the sky. We're talking about clouds taking water from the sky's invisible water ghosts. So, the sky is like a giant, invisible bathtub of water vapor. The clouds are like sponges soaking up the water. But wait, the sky isn't a bathtub. It's more like a giant, invisible sponge itself. The clouds are just parts of that sponge, soaking up the moisture. So the clouds aren't stealing water from the sky. They're just part of the sky's water system. It's like the sky is a giant kitchen, and the clouds are the chefs using the water from the fridge to make rain. But the fridge is the atmosphere, not the sky. So the real question isn't, how do clouds steal water from the sky? It's how does the sky make water for the clouds to steal? And the answer is the sun. The sun heats up the earth, and that heat turns water into vapor, which floats up into the sky. So the sky isn't a place, it's a state of water vapor, and the clouds are just the visible part of that vapor. So, the clouds are like the sky's visible breath, and the water they steal is just the sky's invisible side. So you're like, why should I care about clouds stealing water? Well, imagine your coffee is a little bit less tasty because the clouds took a sip. You know, the kind of sip that makes your coffee go from meh to meh, but with less caffeine. And then there's your plants. They're like, hey, I'm trying to grow, but the clouds are like, I'm just here to borrow some water for a rainy day. Plus, if clouds didn't steal water, we'd all be stuck with the sky being super dry. Imagine the sky like a sponge, and clouds are the guy who keeps sopping it up for us. And let's not forget the weather. If clouds didn't steal water, we'd have a really weird climate. Like, maybe we'd all be stuck in a never-ending summer with no rain. That's not fun. So yeah, you should secretly care. Because even though clouds are cool, they're basically the water police of the sky. And you don't want a sky with no water, do you? So, way back when, people thought clouds were just fluffy cotton candy in the sky. No one knew they were actually stealing water. But then, scientists came along with fancy goggles and a lot of questions. They started asking, like, wait, how do clouds even form? And it turned out they're basically sky sponges soaking up moisture from the air. Was it? Then came the realization, clouds are just pretty shapes. They're water pirates. They're stealing moisture and hiding it until they can drop it down as rain. Wow, that's a bold move. And then, even more shockingly, they realized that clouds are part of a giant recycling system. They take water from the sky, drop it down, and then it goes back up again. It's like a water loop, but with clouds. So, in short, clouds are sneaky, water-hungry, sky-based thieves. And we're all just here, watching them do their thing. Cool, right? So imagine the sky is like a big, wet sponge, and clouds are like little sponges too. But instead of soaking up water from the ground, they're soaking up water from the air. It's like when you hang your clothes on a line and they get wet from the sky. The air is full of tiny water droplets, like a bunch of teeny-tiny raindrops floating around. Clouds are just the ones who are good at catching them and holding on tight. When the cloud gets too full, it's like when your backpack gets too heavy. You have to let some stuff out. So the cloud releases the water as rain, and then the water goes back down to the ground, like a big, slow slide. So clouds aren't stealing water, they're just borrowing it from the sky and then giving it back to the ground. It's like borrowing a toy from your friend and then giving it back when you're done. In the end, the water goes back to the ground, and then it goes back up into the sky again, like a never-ending loop. It's like a water slide that never ends. So, picture this. The sky is like a giant, lazy sponge, and the sun is the guy squeezing it. All that water vapor is just the sponge's sweat, waiting to be caught. Now, the air is like a highway, and water vapor is the car. It's zooming along, but it's not going anywhere fast, it's just floating, like a slow-moving UFO. But here's the catch. The air is cold, and water vapor is like a nervous person who can't stand the cold. It starts to shiver and condense into little water droplets, like a kid who just got dumped into a pool. And where do these droplets go? They stick to tiny particles in the air, like a kid trying to cling to a playground swing. These particles are like the swing, and the droplets are the kid who's too scared to let go. Eventually, those droplets get too heavy, and they fall down as rain, like a kid finally letting go of the swing and crashing into a puddle. But before that, they form clouds, which is basically a group project gone wrong. Okay, so once the water is in the air as vapor, it's like a party in the sky. But how does it decide to come down? Well, it's not exactly a party, it's more like a group text that's been ignored for way too long. The water droplets start hanging out together, like they're saying, hey, maybe we should chill on the ground instead of floating around like lost socks. When enough droplets get cozy, they form a bigger droplet. It's like when you're at a sleepover and your friend's water bottle starts to leak. Suddenly you've got a puddle, but instead of a puddle, it's a cloud droplet. And now it's heavy enough to start thinking about gravity. Gravity is the old friend who's been waiting for them to finally come home. But here's the thing, clouds are up high, and gravity is like, yeah, I'm not gonna lift you up, I'm gonna pull you down. So the droplet gets a little heavier, and the cloud starts to feel like it's carrying a backpack full of water. Now, if the droplet gets too heavy, it's game over for the cloud. It's like when your phone gets too full, and it just crashes. The droplet can't hold on anymore, and it falls down as rain. It's the cloud's version of giving up and going to bed. So, the cloud doesn't really steal water, it's more like it's hosting a party that ends with a downpour. The water just wants to go home, and the cloud is like, alright, I'm done hosting. Let's go! Okay, so the clouds are like these lazy sky pirates, right? They've got their treasure water vapor, but they need to do a little magic to turn it into actual rain. So they start to cool down, like when you take a hot cup of coffee out of the sun. And here's the clever twist. They use the air around them to cool down. It's like when you take a cold drink out of the fridge and the air around it gets chilly. The air just helps them chill out, so the water vapor can finally become liquid water. But wait, it's not just about cooling. The air has to be super saturated, which means it's holding more water than it can handle. That's like when your fridge is full and you try to put another bottle in, it just can't, so it starts to drip. So the clouds basically trick the air into letting go of the water. It's like when your mom says you can have a snack, but only if you finish your veggies. The air is the mom, and the water is the snack. The clouds are the kid who's really good at convincing the mom to give in. And then, poof, the water comes down as rain or snow. It's the clouds doing a little bit of wizardry, turning vapor into water with a chill and a clever twist. So next time you see rain, you can imagine a bunch of sky pirates doing a little cloud magic. So, the real science is like a magic trick. Water vapor is like invisible spaghetti in the air, and clouds are the pasta cooker. They catch the spaghetti and turn it into droplets. But here's the kicker, clouds don't steal water, they borrow it, like a library. You can't steal from a library, you have to return it, or else you get a fine. And when the droplets get too heavy, they fall. That's rain. It's like the cloud is saying, I'm done borrowing. Time to return the library books. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Stanley Quencher 40 Oz Tumblr. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now, and in the description below. Alright, back to it. But wait, what if the cloud doesn't return the books? Then we get floods. That's like the library turning into a flood zone. Bad for everyone. So, in the end, clouds are just like you and me. They borrow, they return, and sometimes they forget. But that's how the water cycle works. Hanta. Okay, so imagine the sky is like a giant, lazy sponge. It's soaking up all this water, but it's not really holding onto it. It's just sitting there, sipping on clouds like a thirsty hippo. But then the clouds come along and do what they do best. They basically hit the sponge with a water gun and make it spill everywhere. The water doesn't stay up there. It just falls down. So the clouds are like the pranksters in the sky, making the sky spill its water. They don't steal it. They just trick it into letting go. In the end, the water just falls down, but it's the clouds that made it happen. They're the real water thieves, just not in the way you'd expect. So next time you see a cloud, remember, it's not just a pretty face. It's a water thief in disguise, doing the sky's dirty work. Okay, so you're thinking, wait, clouds are made of water. How do they steal it from the sky? That's like asking a sponge to steal water from a bucket. But it's not that simple. It's more like a game of hide and seek with humidity. The sky isn't actually a place you can steal from. It's more like a giant invisible jar of air. The clouds are just sitting there, sipping on the moisture that's already in the air. It's like the clouds are the VIPs at a water party, and the air is the host. So when you see a cloud, you're not seeing a water thief, you're seeing a water collector. They're gathering moisture from the air and holding onto it until it's time to fall as rain. It's like a cloud is a lazy waiter holding a tray of water, waiting for the right moment to serve. But here's the thing, the clouds aren't stealing from the sky, they're just borrowing from the air. The sky is full of water vapor, and the clouds are just taking a sip. It's not stealing, it's sharing. Or maybe it's just being really good at holding on to water. So next time you see a cloud, remember it's not a thief, it's just a water collector doing its job. And if you ever feel like the sky is being robbed, just know it's a cloud's version of a raining day party. It's not stealing, it's just having fun. Okay, so there's this myth that clouds are like sky pirates, stealing water from the sky. But let me tell you, that's not how it works. Clouds don't steal, they borrow. And they're not even really stealing from the sky. They're just taking a little water vapor from the air. The sky isn't a giant water tank, it's more like a big sponge. The air is full of moisture, and clouds are like sponges that soak up that moisture. But they don't steal it. They just hold it temporarily until it rains or evaporates again. Another thing, clouds don't really steal water, they just collect it. And if they get too full, they dump it down as rain. So in a way, they're like giant water balloons that burst when they're full. So next time someone says clouds steal water, you can say, no, they're just taking a napkin from the air and then putting it back when they're done. Or something like that. Either way, it's not stealing, it's just borrowing. Okay, so the second myth is that clouds are like sponges and soak up water from the sky. But here's the thing, clouds don't actually steal water from the sky. They're more like temporary storage units for water that's already in the air. The water in the sky isn't just hanging out there waiting to be stolen. It's already there because of evaporation. So clouds are just holding on to water that's already in the atmosphere, not taking it from the sky. And when the cloud gets too full, it rains. So it's not stealing water, it's just redistributing it. Kind of like how your fridge doesn't steal food from the grocery store, it just stores it until you need it. So the myth that clouds steal water from the sky is basically like saying your phone steals electricity from the wall. It's using it, not stealing it. The energy's already there. So that's myth number 2, busted. The clouds are just doing their job of holding water until it's time to let it go. No stealing, just a little bit of water management. So you're like, hey, clouds steal water, but I'm just sitting here drinking a soda. Well, guess what? Your soda is basically a tiny cloud in a bottle. All that sugar and fizz is just the water trying to escape, like a cloud trying to rain. You're drinking the stolen water, right here, right now. And don't think you're safe just because you're not in the sky. Every time you take a shower, you're basically building a little cloud in the bathroom. Steam rises, water droplets form, and before you know it, you're standing in a tiny cloud that's about to rain on your face. Classic. Even your computer is a little cloud factory. When you stream a video, the data is like water vapor, and your internet is the sky. The video is just a cloud waiting to rain down on your screen. You're literally watching stolen water, in the form of pixels. And let's not forget about your breath. When you exhale, you're basically breathing out a cloud. It's like your body is trying to steal water from the sky, but instead of rain, it's just a little mist. You're a cloud in human form, baby. So yeah, clouds are sneaky little thieves. They don't just steal water from the sky, they steal it from your fridge, your shower, your computer, and even your breath. It's a water heist that's been going on since the dawn of time. And you're just the victim. Okay, so here's the thing, clouds don't actually steal water. They borrow it. Like a kid borrowing a toy from a friend, but with rain and stuff. They take it, play with it, and then give it back as rain. But sometimes they don't give it back. Like when they get too heavy or too lazy, that's when it rains. It's like a kid who forgot to return a toy and just left it in the yard, making a mess. And that's how we get rain. Clouds are like water sponges, soaking up the sky's moisture and then deciding to take a shower. It's kind of romantic, if you think about it. But wait, what if the cloud is really, really big? Like the size of a city? Then it's not stealing, it's redistributing. Like a giant water delivery truck, but with a lot more drama. So in the end, clouds aren't thieves. They're just water taxis with a tendency to get a little dramatic. And we're all just passengers in this giant, wet ride. So the real record breakers are the cumulonimbus clouds, the stormy, mountainous giants of the sky. They can hold more water than a whole lake, and they don't just steal water, they borrow it for a party. These clouds are so heavy they can actually make the air around them shake, like a really loud, invisible drum roll. They're basically the sky's version of a DJ with a grudge. And here's the kicker, when they dump that water down, it's not just rain, it's a full-blown water show. Think of it like a cloud doing a freestyle rap and then throwing a water balloon fight. But even with all that power, they don't run the sky. They're more like the sky's drama queen, stealing water for a dramatic monologue and then leaving a puddle in their wake. So next time you see a storm, remember, it's not just clouds stealing water, it's a sky full of drama, rain, and a whole lot of water drama. And we're all just here for the show. Okay, so the clouds are basically sky pirates, right? They're stealing water, but sometimes they get too greedy. They try to grab way too much and end up crashing into the ground like a water balloon dropped from a plane. The water can't just flow down, so it turns into a flood. It's like a cloud got a second job as a water hose and forgot to turn it off. Now the ground is soaked, but the sky is still dry. It's like the clouds took a vacation and left the water behind, which is basically a water version of a broken heart. This is called a flood, and it's basically the sky's version of a bad breakup. The water can't go back up, so it stays down below, and the clouds have to start over. So, clouds steal water, but sometimes they steal too much. And when that happens, it's not a cloud, it's a flood. Water is tricky like that. So yeah, clouds are basically sky pirates, but they don't have any weapons. They just steal water by tricking it into joining them. And the worst part, the sky doesn't even notice they're doing it. You think clouds are just pretty? No, they're actually sneaky and have a way of making the sky feel like it's giving up its own water. It's like a slow, invisible robbery. The sky doesn't even get a warning or a thank you note. It's just gone. Like, oh, I guess my water is now in a cloud and I can't even do anything about it. And if you're wondering, the sky can't just yell at the clouds. The clouds are too high, and the sky is too, well, sky. It's like trying to argue with the ceiling. So next time you see a cloud, remember it's not just floating around. It's a water thief, a sky pirate, and your favorite invisible bandit. And the sky, it's just sighing. Quick word from our
Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.